Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. It's a pleasure to be back on this beautiful Sunday night, the 11th of January, 2026. Just 4 days before Uganda goes to the polls. But we are not here for Uganda's politics. We are here entirely about football and everything to do with football. And we'll get into just that if you can indulge me for the next couple of minutes. I hope you've had a wonderful weekend. It's been a weekend filled with action from all corners of sport, from the French de Champs. That's from Coupe de France. That's the sort of FA version of France. Then the FA Cup itself in the UK. Then we have the Spanish Super Cup, and we are into the final where it's an El Clasico between Barcelona and Real Madrid. And as we speak, it's a level at halftime with both teams at 2-2. Rafinha and Robert Lewandowski are the goal scorers in that fixture for Barcelona, while Vinicius Jr. did score the equalizer before Lewandowski went on to score to make it 2-1. I mean, those goals did come in quick succession of each other to leave the two sides at 2-2, while it was Gonzalo Garcia's goal that restored parity shortly before halftime. I need to go also. That's Pedri. Of course, he's watching the El Clasico. I don't know. What did you make of the first half? Rafinha missed a simple chance and scored the difficult one when he gave the Barcelona the lead, which did not last long before Vinicius Jr. scored to cancel it, and then what a pass from Pedri there to put Lewandowski through, who then had a dink on goalkeeper Thibaut Courtois to put Barcelona at 2-1. But again, that one equally did not last because Gonzalo Garcia responded 2 minutes later to make sure that the game went 2-2 at halftime. So Pedri says, I'm watching the El Clasico. I'm so shocked right now. I don't think there's anything shocking. However, I must say, Real Madrid, who set up with the back three in the form of Dinhausen, Chouameni, and Raul Asensio, did sort of catch maybe Barcelona a little bit off guard in the sense with Alvaro Carreras and Federico Valverde playing as wingbacks, and then you have Rodrigo in there, you have Eduardo Camavinga and Jude Bellingham in that midfield, and then you have Gonzalo Garcia and Vinicius Jr. up front. Real Madrid are a disgusting team to play. We had 70% possession and 6 chances, and they had 2 attacks and scored 2 crappy goals. We are playing way better. Indeed, Barcelona are playing way better, but at the end of the day, it's the final result that will matter or that will count. It won't matter who dominated possession, who played the better game. I know that Real Madrid are seeking to win the competition for the 3rd time in 5 years, while Barcelona are seeking to win it for the 3rd time in 4 years. That's the Spanish Super Cup. Last season, Barcelona did beat Real Madrid to win it. So clearly, Real Madrid come on a bit of tension to prove their worth or to prove their point in as far as that fixture is concerned. I think Barcelona put 5. Was it 5-2 in the last meeting? We are playing way better. Will you stay for the end of the game? I can come back. I intend to be here until the blow of the final whistle. That's at least the objective. We'll be following the updates. We'll be giving people the updates of that second half. So we'll be engaging that. And then as we do the watch along, of course, we'll then give people the updates from the other, competitions that were on this weekend, in as far as the Italian Serie A, the Spanish La Liga for the games that were there, and the FA Cup, where Manchester United have been knocked out already. That means they've been knocked out of 2 competitions that's the EFL Cup and the FA Cup at the first time of asking. So yeah, okay, I'll be back. All right, we'll be looking forward to your full-time thoughts. But good luck, mates. I know you're a Barcelona fan, and I hope you do wish the same to me as a Real Madrid fan, as far-fetched as that would be. I know he wouldn't risk wishing me a good luck on that one. But I do hope Real Madrid win, because last season Barcelona humiliated us at every time of asking, and I can only hope that we do get some bit of our reputation back. In as far as the El Clasico is concerned. So yeah, that's what is happening tonight. We'll get to give you this full starting 11s for the El Clasico. For those of you that will be following our conversation tonight, we'll get to that in just a bit. And then, yeah. So yeah, anyways. Oh, Jesus Christ, I forgot to test my audios. But since Pedri was engaging us fully, that means we are audible enough for the rest of the audience. But it doesn't hurt to cross-check to make sure that everything does check out perfectly well for our other audiences. So yeah, it's indeed a pleasure to be here with you guys. Meanwhile, the Super Cup final, or quote unquote the El Clasico, is being played in Saudi Arabia, and I think this is the second time, because last season it was played there. It is part, I think, of the agenda for Saudi Arabia to promote itself as a country, really, because Spain or Spanish football gets to make a chunk of money by taking the El Clasico over the Super Cup in that direction. So yeah, okay, quickly. Oh, sorry, Jesus Christ. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. And let us know where you're joining us from, what time it is. For me, it's 11 p.m. East African time, or Ugandan time, and I'm coming to you live from Kampala, Uganda. That's where you are joining the conversation from on Football Tribe UG, and I hope you're doing well. Okay, quickly, on the starting 11s of the two sides for the El Clasico, Barcelona do have Johan Garcia in goal, Jules Koundé, Pau Kubasi, Eric Garcia, Alejandro Balde. That's for the back four. They have Frankie de Jong and Pedri in their double pivot, Lamine Yamal, Fermin Lopez, Rafinha, and Robert Lewandowski. Real Madrid managed to keep Lamine Yamal quite quiet in that first half. Well, on the side of Real Madrid, like earlier hinted on, Thibaut Courtois in goal. They have Dean Howson, Chouameni, and Raul Asensio. Then Alvaro Carreras and Fede Valverde. So it's a back three with the wing backs of Fede Valverde and Alvaro Carreras, Eduardo Camavinga, and Jude Bellingham. Then you have Gonzalo Garcia, Rodrigo Goes, and Vinicius Junior up front in that setup. But it tends to shift into a 4-4-2 depending on circumstances in the game or their analysis, and then it shifts into the 3-4-2 one kind of system as well, with Vinicius Junior at the tip of the attack and things like that. So it's a bit of a fluid kind of system, as you would have a Xabi Alonso team. So you're not missing out much on the second half that is already underway with about 51 minutes played, and it's still 2-2 between the two Spanish giants. So yeah. Now, when I talked about the other day, the El Clasico having lost a bit of steam, not by the nature of the rivalry, but the quality of the game itself, and this has nothing to do with goes squad, goes not squad, and etc. But when you look at the weight of the players on that pitch, when you look at today, for example, Real Madrid having to start Gonzalo Garcia, players like Raul Asensio, like Dean Howson. Ordinarily, these would be bench players at Real Madrid. In fact, they will be glad or happy to even make it the bench for the El Clasico. We've known them to be the Galacticos, and you can't help but feel that that quality present day is no longer there. They did start without Kylian Mbappe, who is on the bench, and in some certain occasions you felt that they've missed his pace going forward. In as far as Real Madrid are concerned. So on the bench they have Andre Rooney, Dani Carvajal, David Alaba, Kylian Mbappe, Ada Gula, Dani Ceballos, Fran Garcia, Anton Rodiger, Franco Mastantuano, David Gimenez, Thiago Pina. That's for Real Madrid. Barcelona have Wojciech Szczesny, Ronald Araujo, Marc-Andre ter Stegen, this one recovered from his back injury, Marcus Rashford, Ferran Torres, Marc Casado, Gerard Martin, Ronnie Badge, Dani Olmo, Marc Beno, as well as Tommy Marquez. Those are the players on the bench for. Wow. That's a brilliant save from Joan Garcia against Vinicius Jr. Goalkeeper was right there to the near post, and he couldn't get a nice touch on the rebound. But yeah, that's what we want to see over Vinicius Jr. as Real Madrid fans. So that's what is happening. Anyways, so as we earlier on in the action that was there elsewhere, of course in the UK we had the FA Cup. And in the late kickoff, Manchester United had a very, very poor performance against Brighton and Hove Albion. And in the end, Man United were beaten by 2-1. Danny Welbeck scoring against his former team for the goal that turned out to be the match winner, while Kruder had scored to give Brighton the lead. That was in as early as the 12th minute, while Danny Welbeck's goal came in the 64th minute, and then in the 85th minute, Benjamin Sesko scored a brilliant header to make it 2-1. But they were unfortunately for Manchester United, 4 minutes after that goal coming, their youngster Shia Lessie was shown a red card, so they were reduced to 10 men. He had been booked for a tackle, and then the ball goes outside, and in his opinion, he thought it was United's throw-in, but the referee gives it to Brighton. And in a moment of frustration and naivety, he had already picked up that ball, so he smacks it into the ground as it bounces off. Of course, the referee was never going to appreciate that reaction. The referee, Simon Hooper, and he set him off, which I thought for me was a very, very harsh decision. And I'll tell you why I felt it was harsh. Not because the action in itself was not worthy of a yellow card. Uthman Kimuri. Hi Kimuri. Where are you joining us from? Good to have you on the podcast. So, okay. Afinia couldn't get that one on target. So, while the action in itself was deserving of a booking, for a young kid like Shia Lassie, who is come on with his team training for the second time, I think I first saw him in that game against Burnley, in that 1-1 draw between United and Burnley. So I felt like for the referee, that was a teaching moment, or should have been a teaching moment for him, not by virtue of punishment or in exercising the law to its letter, but to speak to the boy and say, look, that you're already on a yellow card. I'm supposed to be giving you a yellow card for that incident, but I know you're young. You got caught up in the emotion of the moment. I'm just going to give you a warning. You do something stupid, I'll send you off. And again, I know, like I said, I do not disagree that it was a yellow card. Where I disagree is to say it's harsh. We're talking about a boy who is so young, 18 years of age, hasn't played with the first team that much or that long. So for him to lose his head and probably forget that he's already on a yellow card, to do that, something that stupid, is something that you forgive. It is something that you use as a moment to teach. Now, of course, he will learn from it, given that he's been given a red card. But I thought Simon Hooper could have handled the situation a bit much better. And again, a lot of media houses or outlets in the UK are quoting Darren Fletcher as slamming Simon Hooper or the decision as ridiculous. Now, like I said, in the entirety of the moment, I do not know whose throw-in it was, but the referee had made judgment or passed judgment that it was going to be a Brighton throw-in. Whether the referee was wrong in that very decision, that for me is all besides the point. I understand the player feeling that the referee has gotten the decision wrong, especially when Manchester United are chasing the game. I do understand that. But as a young player, emotions can quickly get the better of you. And it's not just about young players. We've seen more senior players make stupid mistakes, make costly errors. The other day, we were talking about those costly mistakes. We cited examples of oh, so we cited examples. You remember the penalty that was awarded against Liverpool for Virgil van Dijk's handball against PSV? For a player of his experience, captain of the team, that's stupid. When you look at players like Yuvis Bissouma are playing for Mali, the red card he gets against Senegal. For a player of his caliber, for a player of his quality and his experience, it's stupid to get yourself sent off and put your team in jeopardy. We've seen so many stupid acts by players, oftentimes reactions. You remember Idris Gana Gueye when he got sent off in Everton's 1-0 victory against Manchester United when he had a fight with Michael Keane. I thought the referee was ridiculous in giving a red card for that incident because it was between two teammates. Now, but between the two players, they know they could have done better in that moment. And in particular, Idris Gana Gueye. So when you have a young player like Shia Lassie losing his head in a snapshot of a moment, I felt like the referee, in his seniority, instead of exercising the law to its later, it was a teachable moment for him to say, look here, kid, you do not do that to the pitch. You do not slam the ball away. You do not kick it away, even though you feel aggrieved, because that's going to get you booked. That's going to get you sent off. And particularly in this particular incident, you're already on a yellow card. So I can send you off and I'll be right. But I'm choosing to teach you, you know? So that's what I felt. Meanwhile, tempers are beginning to flare a bit in the El Clasico with some hard tackles flying all over the place. But it is the nature of the El Clasico. If things do not get feist, if tempers do not flare up, then definitely it may not pass for an El Clasico. But let's try and find the exact quote from Darren Fletcher in regards to the red card. In regards to the red card. Okay. So okay, he was speaking about this and he said, and then the first Shia Lassie foul was not a yellow card. I have no idea how the Brighton players didn't get yellow cards first half. We probably ended up with more yellow cards. Shia Lassie's yellow card is ridiculous compared to the fouls we had against us all game. Ultimately, then the lad makes a mistake and is sent off. And you can see his manager defending him, Darren Fletcher, saying, ultimately, the lad makes a mistake. Why? He knows he's a young player. He knows he's going to make mistakes. And in this particular case, it's a costly mistake, not just to him, but to the team at large, you know. So he's sent off. For me, it's poor refereeing. I can't take the yellow card. I can take the yellow card given to Fletcher. I'll handle it. He, Lassie's, disappointed because he cares and he understands. He knows he will learn from it. But there is no doubt about his talent, steep learning curve today. But we believe in Shea. He is one of our most exciting young prospects. And I'm sure at Old Trafford, he will have a chance to make amends for that in the future. So, but for me, there, he says he knows he will learn from it. That's why I say, yes, he will learn from it. But for the referee, that should have been a teachable moment for the referee, Simon Hooper, who dished, who gave him the second yellow, But it is what it is. It is what it is. So United are knocked out of the FA Cup at the first time of asking, similar to what happened to them against Grimsby Town. In the Carabao Cup, they got knocked out at the first time of asking. So that is what did transpire today. But earlier than that, Arsenal had beaten up Portsmouth by 4-1 to advance to... Come on, Rodrigo Goes. You should be doing better in that moment. You're not going to get that many half chances like that one. Rodrigo Goes deciding to gift the ball to Joan Garcia as opposed to having a decent shot at goal. Needs to generate a bit of power on that ball. Very, very disappointed in him. Joan Garcia being very, very active. So earlier on, like I said, Portsmouth had been knocked out by Arsenal, who beat them by 4-1. Gabriel Martinelli scoring a hat-trick in that one, while Noni Madueke missed a penalty, but the opening goal was Dozel's own goal. But that was to restore parity for the Arsenal, who had gone a goal down in as early as the 3rd minute through Bishop. Arsenal made some changes, including playing Christian Nogard in their back four. That included Gabriel Magalhaes, Baz Lewis Kelly, and Ben White, who Ben White was later withdrawn, as well as Gabriel Magalhaes for Mali Solomon and Uran Timber. Then Mikel Merino started at the pivot of midfield as the holding midfielder, alongside Ethan Wanyere and Ebelechi Eze, who Ebelechi Eze, I thought, had a very, very quiet game for a player that was playing against Portsmouth. Gabriel Martinelli, Gabriel Jesus, and Noni Madueke were the starters up front. I was surprised in some of the changes that Mikel Arteta decided to make, including the introduction of Martin Odegaard, as well as Martin Zubimendi. For me, I thought for a team that has a game next week, I think next week on Tuesday, is it Tuesday? Against Chelsea in the EFL Cup. I thought you did not need to see them on the pitch. It's going to be on the 14th of Wednesday. So it's going to be Wednesday 14th when Chelsea meet with Arsenal in that fixture of the first leg of the semi-finals of the EFL Cup. So very, very important fixture coming up for the Arsenal. So personally, I thought Zubimendi, being at level with Declan Rice, to be some of the players that have played the most minutes for the Arsenal this campaign, you did not need him on that pitch. Martin Odegaard, I thought, not really for me. Let him rest. After all, it's almost a given. you're probably going to start him against Chelsea because, anyway, depending on how the level of importance that you may place on that game, even though ordinarily you would want your B team to start in a game against Chelsea in the AFL Cup. So I won't be surprised if we see a semblance of the team we saw today start against Chelsea, with a couple of changes or maybe a few changes here and there. Perhaps we could get William Saliba to start alongside Gabriel Magalhaes, Kepa Arrizabalaga to keep his place. Maz Lewis Kelly, I know he's not played plenty this season, but every time he's been given an opportunity to start, he's felt like a bit of a risk to deploy. He does some questionable mistakes or errors or things on the pitch. And you're thinking to yourself, why does he need to do that? Today, he was one of the Arsenal players that got booked. So we'll wait to see when that time comes what team that they will deploy, or we'll get at least to do a preview of that game before it's played. And share what our expectations will be, But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So, anyways, in the other results are still of the FA Cup, Derby County were thrashed 3-1 by Leeds United, while Hull City had to advance on post-match penalties that proceeded a goalless draw against Blackburn Rovers, winning that tie 4-3 on penalties. Norwich City put 5 past Walsall. Sheffield United got knocked out by Mansfield Town, who beat them 4-3. Swansea City were knocked out by West Bromwich Albion on penalties that proceeded a 2-all draw, while West Ham United, after extra time, beat Queen's Park Rangers by 2-1. And like I said, Man United have been knocked out after losing to Brighton by 2-1. The El Clasico, we are approaching the 70th minute mark, but the game is still 2-2. In the Spanish La Liga, earlier on, Levante shared the spoils with Espanyol in a goalless draw, in a 1-all draw, while Rayo Vallecano beat up against Real Mallorca by 2-1. In the Italian Serie A at halftime, I'm supposed to be watching this game as well. Inter Milan and Napoli are 1-1 at halftime. Earlier on, Lazio beat up against Verona by 1-0, while AC Milan and Fiorentina shared the spoils in a 1-all draw. Parma beat up against Lecce by 2-1. Looks like Fiorentina are waking up and are starting to gather some points. In fact, they are no longer bottom of the standings. Although they still are within relegation zone, in 18th place with 14 points, only 2 points away from safety. So somebody was making some, bold predictions for 2026, and he said Fiorentina will survive relegation. He said Manchester City will try to make a move for Luis Enrique as a replacement for their manager, who will turn them down, and then they will settle for Vincent Kompany. We'll wait and see if that will be the case, among other, predictions. So we'll have to wait and see. He said Xabi Alonso will survive all the scares at Real Madrid and will be in charge of Real Madrid next season. So let's wait and see if all those things will come to pass, or if some of those things will come to pass. So that's some of the action that you had today in the German Bundesliga. Okay, just a second. In the German Bundesliga, Augsburg lost to Bayer Borussia Mönchengladbach, who beat them by 4-0, while Bayern Munich put 8 past Wolfsburg. Luis Diaz among the goal scorers, Michael Olise with a brace in that one, Harry Kane with a goal in that one, Guerrero with a goal, Leon Goretzka with a goal, 2 own goals in there for Jenez as well as Fischer. Sometimes the Bundesliga gets boring because of Bayern Munich's dominance. After 16 games played, they are yet to lose a game. They've won 14 games, are drawn 2, and they are 11 points clear of the second place Borussia Dortmund. Now, you can imagine You can imagine. Literally, the season starts with the writing on the Bundesliga trophy indicating Bayern Munich's name on it. So when I say sometimes it gets boring, it's too predictable. That's what I mean to say. It's too predictable. You can almost wake up out of your sleep and anticipate what is going to happen at the end of the season. And 8 times out of nine, you'll be correct with whatever prediction you'll make as long as it includes for as long as it includes Bayern Munich in there. So yeah, that's what is happening. Anyways, back to the El Clasico, which is still at 2-2 as we speak. Thibaut Courtois forced into a brilliant save moments earlier on by Lamine Yamal. Jesus Christ. All right. We are back. We are back with the El Clasico. You're still Kylian Mbappe among the Real Madrid players being prepared to come on. Apologies in case you experienced that I'm a couple of seconds behind. It's 3-2. It's 3-2. Barcelona lead 3-2. Ball from Rafinha takes a deflection and hits the back of the net. 75 minutes played. Rafinha makes it 3-2. Wow, what a day. Looks like Real Madrid will need to dig themselves up again. Wow. Ah. The ball takes a deflection off Raul Asensio's shin guard and hits the back of the net. And Rafinha couldn't care any less what the circumstances are. All he cares about is that the ball is in the back of the net. And he was the orchestrator of that moment. We've had cooling breaks in this game because of the weather conditions over there in Saudi Arabia. But yeah, oh my world. What a game from these two. Apologies on that. Kylian Mbappe has had a little bit of a difficult season injury wise. He struggled with a sprain in his left knee, and he's missed some good action in recent weeks. David Alaba, Ben David, no, what's his name? Davis something. Jonathan Davis, is it? Oh, the Canadian left back. Brilliant players ruined by injuries. I don't expect to see Kylian Mbappe going on to sprint after sprint because of that injury issue. Because the last thing is you'd want is to exacerbate a problem and then it turns into a whole nightmare, especially in a World Cup year. For example, we know for a fact that Conor Bradley is ruled out for the remainder of the season after a knee injury that he sustained in the goalless draw against Arsenal and will need surgery. So when it comes to injuries, you got to have to tune in. Barcelona are looking for that fourth goal to double their lead to make sure that Real Madrid do not catch up with them again, having already taken a lead twice and had that lead cancelled out. Real Madrid will be hoping for some star laden inspiration to restore parity in this game, and then we'll see what will happen. Should it end in penalties, anything can happen. You know, I always say that with penalties, anything can happen. Danny Olmo, Ferran Torres. Real Madrid have all their reputation to play for, while Barcelona have bragging rights to play for. Dani Ceballos will go down as a mediocre player, for a player with so much talent. On a given day, he's one of the best midfielders, attacking midfielders you'll find. But that lack of consistency really, really lets him down. It really, really does let him down. Yep, it's the El Clasico in the Spanish Super Cup final between Real Madrid and Barcelona. 83 minutes played, and Barcelona still lead by 3 goals to 2. A burst from Rafinha and another for Lewandowski for Barcelona, while Vinicius Jr. and Gonzalo Garcia were the goal scorers for Real Madrid. That was a poor pass. It is what it is. Vinicius Jr. wasn't too pleased when he was withdrawn, but is he ever? Never. Never. That's what happens with big players. They do come with their ego. They want to remain on the pitch and impact the game, even though, however late it could be. They still believe that they could have the chance to impact the game in a positive way if they remain on. Apparently, Barcelona have already informed Marcus Rashford and his representatives of their desire to keep him beyond his loan spell. However, the circumstances of their finances will determine whether they can afford that 30 million euros that is embedded in that loan contract for Barcelona from Manchester United. So, sometimes Barcelona make it look too easy passing that ball around. 86th minutes underway, still 3-2 in favor of Barcelona. Remember last season, Barcelona went with the same scoreline in the Copa del Rey final, beat Real Madrid by 3 goals to 2, while in the Spanish Super Cup last season, they beat Real Madrid by 5-2, in addition to beating them um, in the Spanish La Liga, home and away. So, yeah, difficult spell that was. This season, Real Madrid have already beaten Barcelona in the Spanish La Liga by 2 goals to 1. That was in the Spanish La Liga, their first meeting at the Santiago Bernabeu. come to that moment in the game where cynical fouls have started to come in, yellow cards are being brandished. Ah, we are coming closer and closer to the 90th minute mark. Not sure how many minutes will be added on, but be sure there will be quite a couple, given that we've had some cooling breaks. I remember I was watching the game between Manchester United and Brighton, and I couldn't help it notice the fury of Manchester United fans every time Diego Dalot got the ball, every time Patrick Dogu delayed a pass, um, every time they didn't press well. United pressed like they were learning, like they were doing it for the first time. Then so many underperformers in that Manchester United team today. They did not cover themselves in any glory whatsoever. And if your manager looking to come in, if you're Ghana Sosha, if you're Michael Carrick, if you're Ruud Van Nistelrooy, looking to get that job on an interim until the end of the season, you must have been thinking to yourself, as soon as I walk in there, I ought to crack the whip on these boys when it comes to their counter press, because it was so poor in many moments of the game that you felt or you wondered whether they were doing it for the very first time. David Alaba slammed himself, gave Lamine Yamal a bit of a push, and Real Madrid players on the bench were saying he's diving. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't that as blatant as they come? Rashford tried to use his space. We're into stoppage time already. Um, Jesus Christ. Another week to live with the humiliation, to live with the embarrassment of being at the receiving end of a beating from Barcelona once again. Will be a long week. Kylian Mbappe Kylian Mbappe gave Kylian Mbappe gave Lamine Yamal a test of his own medicine when it came to dribbling past players. Also, a red card for Barcelona. is never immune of drama. Frank de Jong is given a straight red card. Oh, that's not a red card. Could have seen it the wrong way. Oh, oh. Oh, oh. I see why it's given. It's been given as a red card. See why it's been given as a red card. His boot is way over the top of the ball. It's high. It's not dangerous in the act of itself to cause Mbappe harm, but the video assistant referee are never going to intervene in that. They're not never going to intervene in that because the contact may not have been that strong, but for the purposes of intent, that could have been much different. So I understand why the referee has given the red card. Even though if it had been a yellow card, I do not think the decision would have been reverted in itself. We are edging closer and closer to the finish of this game. Barcelona reduced to 10 men with the straight red card to Frankie de Jong for what was deemed to be a dangerous foul on Kylian Mbappe. He gave that quite instantly, that it made you think that he had seen it perfectly well for what it was or for what he interpreted it to have been. And unfortunately, he's right, even though it's a bit subjective. But to the letter of the law, he's right. You know, what makes it subjective is the lack of force embedded in it, but that force can never be really measured. It can only be interpreted based on one's observation. Oof. Oh, come on. Marcus Rashford had a golden opportunity to wrap up the game for Barcelona when he went free one-on-one with Thibaut Courtois, and his attempt went wide of the mark. Went wide of the mark. Some players play too much, but Alvaro Carreras, he decided to pass the ball back to Joan Garcia. as opposed to striking that ball with power to restore parity for Real Madrid. So a missed opportunity on one end and a missed opportunity on the other. The game is finished. Full-time score: Barcelona 3 to Real Madrid. Congratulations, Barcelona. You're the Spanish Super Cup champions. You're the Spanish Super Cup champions. We know Barcelona knocked out Bilbao, while Real Madrid knocked out Atletico to set up the final. At the tail end of the game, Real Madrid had two huge chances that fell to Raúl Asensio and another that fell to Alvaro Carreras, but none of them could convert. And they've won it. Once again, Barcelona getting the better of Real Madrid. Guys, thank you so much for those of you that have been part of the broadcast. Thank you so much, Akimori, Pedri, and every single one of you that has been part of it. Let's link up again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to digest this further. Bye-bye for now, and have a blessed night. Let's do this again tomorrow in the morning. It's been a pleasure.